Kia ora, good evening. Police were this afternoon investigating the area surrounding a South Invercargill house where a man was attacked with a tomahawk-like weapon in the early hours of Friday morning. Police were conducting a search in the Ottery Street and Avon Road area looking for a weapon or evidence relating to the attack. Police say a 21-year-old man, the sole occupant of an Ottery Street house, was awakened at around 3 a.m. on Friday by an intruder and was attacked upon confronting him. He was able to escape the premises but suffered several serious injuries and remains in hospital. Police are still investigating and as yet the offender has not been identified. The number of burglaries in Invercargill has doubled over the past month, and over the weekend alone there were 8 burglaries in the city. The problem seems to be largely centred in Glengarry, Richmond and South Invercargill. Sarah Bedford spoke to Southland Police Prevention Area Manager Inspector Olaf Jensen about the issue.
Over the weekend we had 8 additional burglaries, and their numbers for the week are up around the 14-15 mark, which is double the burglaries we normally have.
Now, that has been an issue that police have been targeting. How concerning is it that that number is not coming down?
It's certainly a concern to us. Police can do so much in the prevention line, but we also need the public to come on board. And when I say public, it's the owners. A lot of these occupiers of their premises or their houses aren't securing not only their valuable items, whether it be in the garage, sheds or in their house, but the houses are also being left unlocked. So people have to take responsibility not only for their property but also for their own safety. They need to keep their houses secure.
Now, do you think that these burglaries that we've been having recently are connected at all to the aggravated burglary and aggravated robbery that we've had recently?
There's obviously some similarity between some of the offences that were happening, but as far as the 2 serious ones, we're keeping a reasonably open mind, and there's 2 separate investigations going for the Ottery Street aggravated burglary and the super liquor burglary and robbery in Alice Road. 2 separate investigations, and the dwelling burglaries that we're having at the moment are possibly appear to be unrelated to those. But again, any burglaries are serious. There's a victim involved, so we're just a real appeal for people to actually lock their property up.
So what are police doing to target the problem?
We've obviously got an investigation as far as with the CIB go, as far as the burglaries go, but we've also got prevention. That means going back to the houses and giving some advice, doing area inquiries with the other neighbours, alerting to them that they've got insecure property, asking for if they've got reports of suspicious behaviour, and also we task our staff into those areas, what we call hot locations, for high visibility patrolling, not only as a reassurance message for the public, but also see what people are around at different times of the day.
And you're asking the public to be more vigilant?
That's correct, Sarah, and especially around suspicious behaviour, we'd like to hear from the public at the time if they see something odd out on the street or at their neighbour's place. Ring us straight away. We'd rather respond and find out that there was a simple explanation for the behaviour, as opposed to maybe the next day the neighbour says, "Oh, I saw someone there and there's been another burglary." So suspicious behaviour, report it straight away.
Limits to lending for home buyers will soon come into effect, with the Reserve Bank announcing changes today. Reserve Bank Governor Graham Wheeler announced that from October 1st, banks will be subject to restrictions on high loan-to-value ratio housing mortgage loans. Banks will be required to restrict new residential mortgage lending, with each being allowed to lend less to high-risk customers. No more than 10% of new residential mortgage customers will be allowed to take mortgages with less than a 20% deposit. Mr Wheeler says the Reserve Bank is concerned about the rate at which house prices are increasing and the potential risks this poses. Economic activity rose 1.2% in Southland in the 3 months to June, one of 11 regions nationally to see a rise. According to the ANZ New Zealand Regional Trends report, most regions saw improved economic activity, while one was unchanged and 2 regions saw a fall. In Southland, consumer confidence eased marginally in the quarter while business sentiment improved. The surveyed level of employment in Southland slipped for the 3rd successive quarter, dropping to a 2-year low, which resulted in the unemployment rate increasing to a 9-year high of 5.3%. For the year to June, growth in Southland rose at 1.3%. A multi-million-dollar boat took to the road in Southland today. The 26-metre high-speed catamaran Spirit of Queenstown left Bluff on the back of a truck this morning, being moved to Kingston over 2 days. The purpose-built Southern Discoveries boat arrived in Bluff last week, having traversed the coast of New Zealand before completing the final leg of its journey by road. The boat's expected to be lowered by a crane into her new home, Lake Wakatipu, on Thursday. Stay with us after the break. Why hundreds are taking to the stage in Invercargill over the next few days. Welcome back. Meridian Energy will be listed on the share market by early November, subject to market conditions. Prime Minister John Key today confirmed the Meridian share offer, the second in the government's share offer program, which proposes the partial sale of shares from 4 state-owned electricity providers. Mr Key says government is committed to 85 to 90% New Zealand ownership on the Meridian share offer. 49% of Meridian will be listed. It's proposed investors pay for shares in 2 stages, an initial part payment when an application is made and the remaining payment 18 months later. An Edendale woman was lucky to escape unharmed after crashing the vehicle she was driving on the outskirts of Invercargill this morning. The sole vehicle occupant escaped without injury after crashing in a Isuzu 4-wheel drive which crossed the centre line and hit toy bushes before coming to a rest upside down. The crash, which happened just before 10 a.m, saw a section of State Highway 1 between Racecourse Road and Mill Road cordoned off for a time, while 2 fire appliances remained at the scene to ensure a small diesel leak did not ignite. Police are still investigating the cause of the crash. Polyfest kicked off at the Civic Theatre in Invercargill today, run by the Mirihuku Māori and Pacifica Trust. Polyfest is a celebration of all things Māori and Pacifica, also inclusive for the community. The original Polyfest started in Auckland in 1976, but in Southland they're putting their own spin on the event.
It's a little bit different to what we do. They have judged events, so they have different stages for different Pacific groups, and they have it judged as is all about participation. And so we just want people to come along and have a really good time experiencing Māori and Pacifica culture. We've got a lot of little rural Southland schools, and they're out there doing their hakas and their waiata, and all the parents and grandparents are coming and having a lovely time enjoying it.
The events got bigger year on year, starting small in 2009.
So that was a one-day event. We had about 20-odd schools and early childhood centres involved. And then it's grown to this year. We've got 60-plus groups involved, coming from Wakatipu to Bluff, Balclutha to Tuatapere and in between. And we've got literally babies right up to 18-plus. And in the evening on a Thursday, we have some groups performing from the community as well. So a real range of people from a real range of places.
Children all over the province are still frantically rehearsing for their stage performances, the youngest those in early childhood centres, while those performing today gave it their all physically and vocally.
People have really bought into it. They like the vibe that it's creating. It's a really vibrant event, and so we're getting fantastic support.
Some of the event's 150 volunteers are taking annual holidays to assist, and some schools are releasing students to help out also.
We've got schools who've let their kids be released for days to come and volunteer. I really like that that's teaching the kids about giving back, because a lot of these kids have been involved performing.
This year, a lei project's been added with entries displayed in shop windows around the city, including some from Waihopai and James Hargis Junior Campus.
Well, we know that they were all given the task of producing leis as part of the Polyfest and supporting the Polynesian culture in Invercargill. So each of the classes have done their own work, and it's from room 5, so the youngest, right up to the 12-year-olds.
While the theme for this year's Polyfest art exhibition is It's All About the Community, what does the community mean to you? For Winton, it's the heart. Winning entries are on display at Southland Museum, including this one from Waikiwi Kindergarten, who involved their whole community.
They've hung the business cards of various businesses, the cards from the aged care places, there's several in the community. They went round to every organisation within the community, and the photographs in their book show them meeting the people in the community.
The overall winner, titled Over the Fence Is Me, is also on display, and in the foyer, a tree where children especially are encouraged to share their thoughts on the meaning of community. Polyfest ends on Friday afternoon. Margot Sutherland at South Today News. Southland secondary school science students were putting their hard work on show in Invercargill this afternoon. More than 350 Year 5 to 13 students were this afternoon having their projects judged at the NZDAS Southland Science and Technology Fair. The winner will get the opportunity to represent the Southland region in the national event in December. Students this afternoon set up their projects at the Ascot Park Hotel and were then asked questions from judges about their exhibits. For those who take part, it can be months to weeks of preparation.
We look for innovation, we look for an idea that we haven't thought of, or we look for a twist on an existing idea. We like to think that they have spent a lot of time thinking about how to test it and that they have put a lot of thought into making sure all the variables are covered, and then from there making sure they've got what we call robust data, that the measurements that they've done are actually what they're supposed to have measured, and they're not making false claims, because science is very much about what can you prove, and so that's really what we're looking for. Yeah.
So having the science fair, what's the purpose for those science students who take part?
I always think that science fair projects teach kids a lot more about themselves than the science they're doing, because for the first time they've had to put together an idea and then a lot of slogging out and hard work, and then they have to come back and put it all together to quite a small space on a board, and that's hard to do, and it's about learning how to cope with adversity and dealing with hard times and coming and celebrating it for this week.
And that's it from news. Coming up in sport, we talk to sports journalist Joseph Romanos from the news team. Good night.